Hello and welcome to this lecture. In the previous lecture, you learned how to implement a while loop, and in this lecture, you will be learning what a nested loop is. So what are nested loops? The definition of a nested loop is similar to that of a nested if statement, and it says a loop within another loop is called a nested loop. The point you need to remember is for each iteration of the outer loop, the inner loop will be executed from beginning till the end. Let's understand that with the help of an example. On my Python's idle environment, I have a format of a matrix which I want my program to print. Now, in case you are not sure what a matrix is a mathematical representation of numbers in terms of rows and columns. The horizontal lines are called rows and the vertical lines are called columns. Let's see how to implement a matrix with the help of nested loops. Let me start by declaring a variable called number, which I will be using to print in my matrix, and the initial value for my number will be 1. Now, I will have two loops, one to run the outer loop, which will be for the rows, and another one for the inner loop, which will be looped through the columns. So, for row in range 1, 4. Now, if you remember, your ending value needs to be the value which you need plus 1. Now, since it is 3 rows that I need here, my value should be 4. Now, in my inner loop, I have my column loop, and I start it for column in range. Once again, since it is 3 columns per row, it is 1, 4. Now, let me go ahead and print the number. Now, usually what happens with the print statement is it prints the statement and goes on to the new line. Now, in this case, you do not want that to go to the new line. As you can see, after 1, a space is being given and then you enter the number 2. So at the end of every print statement, I need a space. You can do that by giving the parameter end and adding a space. To give a space, you enter a single or a double quote and you give space in between. So that adds a space at the end of every print statement. Now what happens is the number is being printed thrice. But that's not what you want. You want the number to increment as well. So in my next statement, I assign number equal to number plus 1. So what this would do is it increments the number by 1. So the first time it prints 1, the next time the number is being incremented to 2 and it prints 2, and next time the number is being incremented to 3 and it prints 3, and my column loop breaks. So once my column loop breaks, what I want my program to do is to print a new line so that the next row starts from the next line. And how do I do that? I go back to the indentation of my row loop, which is just before I started the indentation for my column loop. And there I print a new line by having an empty print function. Now let's see what happens on the execution of this nested loop. So as you can see, the first time the row had the value 1, and for that iteration, column was executed thrice. So you have 3 columns with the values 1, 2, and 3. And then you had a new line statement which caused the output to go to the next line. And for the next iteration of row, once again your column loop was called thrice. And you have the values 4, 5, and 6. And then you print the new line. And finally, for the third iteration of your row loop, your column loop was once again called thrice. And we have the output 7, 8, and 9. So that's the end of this lecture. You learned what are nested loops and how to implement a matrix using a nested loop. The next lecture, we will be discussing how the break, continue, and else statements affect the behavior of loops. I'll see you there. Thank you.